Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the show. David Pakman here with you. Lewis sticking around for the whole show, I believe. He has agreed to stay. Several new members I want to say hello to. David Pakman Show membership program, Jim Avery, Robert Yeo, John Cole, David Howard, and Jason Tippett. Several new members. Saying hello to all of them. Of course, davidpakman.com/membership. You get so much stuff. I mean, there's the 2 bonus shows a week. You get the podcast commercial free, the full 5.5-year archive of our show. It's fantastic. I can't tell you. It's the best membership program for any David Pakman show, probably anywhere.
Ever, of all time.
I would say. It's becoming more and more obvious to me, and hopefully to you too, that a significant portion of budget problems could be solved not by any catastrophic tax increases, but by a slightly higher marginal tax rate on the top earning Americans. And I know people will hear this and they'll say, it's that communist David Pakman who wants redistribution of wealth. He doesn't want people to be able to have their own business. He is an anarchist, communist, Kenyan Muslim. No, that's Obama, right? That's not me.
Right.
But we'll still hear that. And that is not what I'm advocating. What I'm advocating, what I'm going to propose to you here, is a very minor change on the whole in terms of the number of people it would affect. And I want to point out that this is a simple solution that really can't be done because of a dominating political media dynamic that rules out the idea of, well, we increase slightly the highest marginal tax rate on people that are very, very rich. Many multimillionaires fancy themselves self-made men and women. And the truth is, they've all profited from the investments that American taxpayers have made over the decades, even for centuries. And I'm talking about, for instance, President Dwight Eisenhower's interstate highway system. It enabled companies to move their goods more cheaply. President John Kennedy's space program, it spurred the growth in computer sciences, which now many businesses use to their profitable advantage. To further calm Wall Street, authorities basically gave bankers a get out of jail free card in what we saw recently, and we've talked about it a lot, Lewis. Not a single person from Wall Street has gone to jail. Not a single prominent player in the subprime securities scandal has been prosecuted or forced to surrender any of the money that they've made under that system. And the reality is the rich would make even more money in the long run if the middle class was rebuilt with slightly higher taxes. I'm going to get killed for this, right, Lewis? I mean, there's no way around me being called a tax-raising commie with this narrative.
There's going to be some hate.
What do you think about this? Am I advocating anything completely drastic?
No. And I like to use other countries to compare. There are some countries in which you can be taxed up to 90% of your income.
Marginal tax rate. Top
Right.
marginal. But, Lewis, they're un-American, though.
They're prosperous countries, and they're doing well.
Well,
they do not have the problems we have. I'm not saying that should be the case. I'm not saying it should be that high. I'm saying there needs to be higher taxes in some cases.
The other thing,
plain and simple.
please remember, we talk about a marginal tax rate here. We're not talking about the total tax rate. So when we say raise the top marginal tax rate, that means that on the first $100,000 that anybody makes, they pay the same tax rate. So if we're talking the top marginal tax rate, people making, I don't know, over $250,000, everything they make up to that point is taxed the same as those less wealthy counterparts. It's the additional monies. Now remember, it was 70%. The top marginal tax rate was 70% under Reagan. When Clinton raised it, when Bill Clinton raised that top marginal tax rate, it was still only to 39.6%. But what do we hear in the media? We hear about Democrats raising taxes. We hear about tax and spend liberals, so on and so forth. And it's causing people to vote against their own best interests. Joe the plumber is the perfect example. Remember Joe the plumber from the 2008 election? This
Right.
plumber who confronted Barack Obama on the street and said, hey, you're going to raise my taxes. I own a plumbing business. That was a lie. I'm a plumber. Even that was a lie. Guy wasn't even a licensed plumber, but whatever. He's still called Joe the plumber. The reality was that he was voting against his own best interest. Barack Obama was going to cut his taxes. The guy didn't make $250,000 a year. And Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky has introduced a bill to raise taxes for the wealthiest Americans. She is putting her money where her mouth is. And this would create a new tax bracket for people making between $1 million and $1 billion a year. Okay, and tax rates would start at 45%. With the $1 million a year income, it would go up on a sliding scale. The legislation would also tax capital gains and dividend income as ordinary income for those earning over $1 million in a given year. That's a big deal. That is a lot of money, Lewis, because right now, capital gains and dividend income are not taxed. If you make millions of dollars a year in salary and then you earn money on capital gains and dividend income, you're paying a significantly lower tax rate there. I actually don't know how I feel about that part. I see both sides of it. But having a higher marginal tax rate for the highest income earners, to me, seems like we're just not even considering. There is no media dialogue about the amount of budget problems that it would solve. It would reduce debt. Even some Republicans are saying they'd have trouble voting against it if it actually comes to a vote, even though many will work to prevent that from ever happening, as we know.
Right. And this would help, but this still doesn't even come close to solving all of our economic problems.
No, this is not a one-shot deal. No, absolutely not. But the point is, because of the media discourse that exists and communist accusations, we can't even have a reasonable discussion about this.
Yes, it's like a big wall. Very hard to get through.
It's more than that. More than a wall, my friend.